Still tuned into Bush Radio, 89.5 FM, the mother of community radio in Africa.
And also we'll be speaking to Dayne Myles, who'll be speaking to us regarding hard-hitting issue, man, of hunger. As you know, that in South Africa there's a lot of unemployment, which can lead to hunger, poverty, to a point where a lot of people are now sleeping without food. Good morning, Dayne.
Good morning. Great to see you guys.
How are you?
Well, thanks, and you?
Thank you. Thank you very much for tuning in to Bush Radio 89.5 FM, the mother of community radio station in Africa. There's 4 of us in studio from LA to New York to Delhi and South Africa, obviously. They will say hi to you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So, Dayne, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Yes. So, Rise Against Hunger Africa, you can, on the title already, you can hear it. It's all about curbing, especially things like hunger that's happening in the continent. By doing that, you're not only providing food, but also programs that can curb, that stigma of sleeping without food. So, but before we go into it, Rise Against Hunger Africa, how it all started?
So, Rise Against Hunger is actually a global organization. So we actually have offices in 7 countries around the world. So with that being said, the organization actually started in the US over 25 years ago. And the African branch, or rather the South African branch, started approximately 15 years ago. So we were the first kind of satellite branch of the global organization. And specifically because there is such, obviously, a huge need in Africa and South Africa itself. So approximately 3.1 million children go hungry in South Africa every single day. So the need in South Africa alone is massive, never mind the rest of the world. So the organization started with a group of people who saw what the U.S. organization were doing and said, well, we see the impact it can make here in South Africa, and they wanted to get on board. And as I say, the rest is history. We've now grown to be a relatively large organization with a goal to pack 7 million meals this year.
Wow, 7 million meals. That's an impressive goal.
What are the main goals of Rise Against Hunger?
So our main project is what we call ECD Connect. So an ECD is an early childhood development center, or what some people would call a creche or a preschool. And our main target is making sure that children under the age of 6 are fed at a place of education. So for one, we're making sure that children are off the street. They're in a place of education, because education, we all know, is key to a successful future in Africa and around the world. And then good nutrition. A lot of our children might not receive a meal at all if not for the meals that we provide. So we make sure that every single meal that we do provide is a highly nutritious and balanced meal, even if it is the only meal that they get for the day. So we run a program on a monthly basis where we deliver a box of meals to each of our ECDs, and that's across the country, and really with the idea of improvement. Food is one of the most expensive costs for an ECD. So by us providing a meal, they're able to then make a significant financial saving at the creche. And then over a short to long-term period, they're able to slowly but surely improve the conditions of that creche itself. Everything from, simple things like painting, but also health and safety. So buying a first aid kit, buying a fire extinguisher, and then also assisting with learning aids and things that will really impact the children in other educational formats as well. So that's the main thing that we do. But then we also obviously are aware that hunger affects people in other ways as well. So approximately 10% of all of the meals that we distribute are in response to disaster relief. So whenever there's a fire or flooding or other forms of economic crisis as well, we respond as an organization to provide meals in the case of relief.
Arushi?
Your goals are amazing and the work that you're doing is really great. I wanted to ask, how does your sustainable farming initiative work?
So our sustainable farming is slightly different. So like I mentioned with our ECD Connect program, we try and always plug all of our programs into each other. So with our sustainable farming, we came to the realization that if we can assist a creche, for example, in growing their own food, they would be able to find a new level of food sustainability. So we run various programs around it, but the main idea is to have a hub farming site. We currently have 5 of those across the country where farming practice is taught. Larger scale farming is kind of encouraged, but all on a micro enterprise level. From there, for example, a principal of a creche might be trained in how to grow veggies. We then would assist them in planting what we call a backyard garden or a box garden at their site on their property, which will then slowly but surely supplement the meals that we provide them. In other words, we're not just handing over a box of food. We're also then providing a fresh produce meal as well.
Still tuning in to Bush Radio 89.5 FM, the mother of community radio station in Africa. Speaking to Dayne Myles, all the way from Rise Against Hunger Africa. I want to know though, Dayne, in terms of, I know that your organization is doing all these amazing things, planting, focusing on sustainable development. Why in 2024 we still have these issues in the continent of Africa? You would think that by now, at least with the access to information, at least the continent will be in a place where now it understands all these things. It doesn't have to be organizations that are helping out. Why do you feel like the government is still, or of the continent of Africa, is still slacking on this manner? Why? The continent of Africa is one of the continents that can feed the whole planet, if we really, really taking care of it and understanding it more.
I think the first thing it comes down to is funding, to be honest, and for a number of reasons in Africa, we struggle to get the funding together in order to create effective programs. So obviously we all know that in Africa, we and around the world, but in Africa especially, we struggle with corruption. Money that's supposed to go to one place, unfortunately, doesn't end up there. So that is a huge, huge challenge for us. I mean, even for us, like I said, we've got a goal of providing 7 million meals this year. Our target is only restricted by funding. That's the funding we expect we will have available this year to provide 7 million meals. The more funding we're able to generate, the more meals we're able to provide. The second part of it is also skill development and training. Despite what you just mentioned, we all know that Africa has huge potential, and we have the land and the space and some skills to be able to do that. On a grassroots level, the average South African and average African doesn't actually have access to the skills and the resources to start it. We might think it's easy to tune into YouTube and learn how to plant something, but as we've learned, it ends up being a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a multifaceted issue, and it's incredible to have an organization that's taking it on in so many ways.
I also have a question. So you've talked generally about the continent of Africa, but what communities do you primarily serve, and how do you access them?
So Rising Against Hunger Africa actually only covers South Africa. So we predominantly stay within our borders, with the exception of the occasional disaster relief across borders, because in South Africa alone there's such a huge need. So we generate funding locally, and we make an impact locally. So that's we currently have a fixed presence in 8 out of 9 provinces. However, our global partners do projects across Africa. So our US office, for example, has a very big sustainability program alongside a school in Zimbabwe. Our Italian office has 2 projects on the west coast of Africa. So relative to each branch has their own goals and relative to the funding that's available, because relative to whichever companies we work with and provide funding, we're able to then target different things. However, all of them focus on food in some form or another, so to create some kind of sustainability in terms of feeding.
So looking ahead in 2024, I know your organization has a lot of cool events happening and ways for people to get involved. Can you tell us a little bit about what Rise Against Hunger Africa is doing on Mandela Day?
Cool. So we're actually quite a different organization. So what I haven't talked about is actually the heart of the organization. So we host meal packing events. So in an hour, or in just over an hour, or in the case of Mandela Day, 67 minutes, a group of 15 people is able to pack an average of 3,000 meals. So in other words, if we can get 15 people to give up 67 minutes of their time, we can pack 3,000 meals. And across the whole month of July, we have various venues across the country. We have big corporate events where we'll have 1 million meals packed in one day in Johannesburg, for example. The best thing to do is to keep an eye on our Mandela Day page on our website and to see where you can get involved. But the other option is to engage with us directly. Offer us a venue, offer us a space, offer us access to people. We love working with various organizations, various groups of people, schools, universities. If you're able to provide people and a venue, and in some cases funding as well, because obviously the meals do need to be paid for, we can make a massive impact. And like I said, 15 people can pack 3,500 meals in an hour. So it really can make a big, big difference.
That's great. I wanted to ask, since you're talking about involvement with people, how can people actually get involved with the organization and get to know about these events?
So the easiest is our website. So in South Africa, that would be riseagainsthunger.org.za. We have an events tab, and on that page specifically, it lists upcoming events by province. So it's as simple as going onto that page, seeing what event is available in your region in the upcoming weeks, and signing up. You would get your email reminders and things like that. The other way is to also sign up to our newsletter on our website. And then, of course, we use social media. So Instagram and Facebook are our main ones. Otherwise, to connect with us on LinkedIn. Find one of our team on LinkedIn relative to the area you're in. And we love engaging with volunteers directly. So if there's a way that you think that you can get involved or volunteer other than in meal packing, we often provide volunteer opportunities for accountants or people who just want to generally do data capturing. Or there's so many different ways to assist. It's really just about putting up your hand and engaging with us and saying, I have some time, how can I assist? We believe in what we call growing a global movement to end hunger. And that's really just about getting people involved in absolutely any way possible, because every skill can be used to end hunger in some way or form.
Dayne, thank you very much for speaking to us on 89.5 FM. I want to know, though, for us who's tuning in now and obviously us in studio, how can we get involved?
I think we have a slogan. It's called "It Starts with a Meal," and I think the simplest way to get involved in terms of ending hunger is to start by feeding somebody on your daily commute or on a regular commute. Choose one person to feed. Put a sandwich in your car every day if you're driving, and really we believe that ending hunger is as simple as starting with one meal. Start to make that difference, and then, as I said, I would engage with us on our website, riseagainsthunger.org.za. Join up to our newsletter, reach out to us directly by email, and see other ways that you might be able to assist the organization on a bigger scale.
Dayne, thank you so much for providing so much information about your organization. We always ask our guests one final question, which is for a few words of inspiration or motivation for our listeners.
A nice big feature to end.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think for me, one of our other slogans, and it's a global slogan, is set by the World Health Organization and the United Nations, is that by the year 2030 we can end hunger. And it is possible. We believe that it is possible to end hunger, but it takes absolutely every person getting involved, giving their time, giving of funding, really trying to make a difference for us to do that. 2030 is only 5 or 6 years away, but we believe that it is possible as a global movement to end hunger.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today and for giving our listeners so many different ways to get involved.
Thank you.
And
Always love talking about our organization.
Nice. And would love to have you again, maybe in the next 3 months, just to keep up, in what the Rise Against Hunger is doing.